Happy New Year, Eagles fans! May 2026 bring grit, unforgettable wins, and the green and white fighting until the very end. The Eagles are heading into Week 18 with a playoff spot secured, but the situation is far from meaningless. And that's what makes this moment so fascinating for everyone watching. Philadelphia is locked into at least the NFC's number 3 seed and cannot fall any lower. Yet there is still a real path to the number 1 seed, 2 seed. If the Eagles beat the Washington Commanders and the Chicago Bears lose to the Detroit Lions, the door opens. The catch is that both games kick off at the same time, at 4:25 p.m., which means Nick Sirianni and his staff have to make critical decisions without knowing how the other result will unfold. This is not just about one game. It's about balancing long-term playoff positioning, player health, and the rhythm of a team that believes its best football still lies ahead. Come in smashing the like button if you're already thinking about Sunday's game. The organization has already announced that several starters will be rested against Washington. Others will dress, but could be limited or not play at all, simply to meet NFL-mandated roster minimums on game day. This approach is not new for Philadelphia. In both 2022 and 2024, the Eagles rested multiple starters in the regular season finale, and both of those seasons ended with Super Bowl appearances. Sirianni addressed this directly, explaining that the NFL season is a marathon. Rest can be as valuable as momentum, especially when first-round byes are no longer guaranteed beyond the number 1 seed. Even when seeding is not fully locked, the coaching staff has to weigh how much physical and mental recovery might help the team once January football begins. With that decision comes opportunity, and this Week 18 matchup becomes a spotlight for players who have spent most of the season developing behind the scenes. Tanner McKee is the clearest example. With starters resting, McKee is set to make his first start of the season. This will be his second career start. After going 27 of 41 for 269 yards and 2 touchdowns in a 20-13 win over the Giants in last year's regular season finale. While he has only attempted 3 passes this season, the Eagles believe his growth has happened away from the cameras, in practices, meetings, and daily preparation. McKee himself has emphasized that every rep matters, whether it's on Sundays or midweek practices, and that learning behind Jalen Hurts has played a major role
in his development. Hurts' leadership and understanding of the game have given McKee a model to study, and he has approached that role with the mindset of a sponge, absorbing everything he can. What makes this start even more intriguing is the supporting cast McKee will likely have on the field. Much of his work this season has come with the second-team offense, and many of those same players are expected to see extended action against Washington. That familiarity matters. McKee has built chemistry with players like Darius Cooper, Will Shipley, Tank Bigsby, and others who have shared countless reps with him throughout the year. According to McKee, that comfort level shows up in timing, trust, and understanding where teammates will be on the field. In a game where execution may matter more than star power, that continuity could be one of the most important factors. On the defensive side, there's a similar story unfolding with rookie linebacker Smael Mondon. His stat line might not jump off the page at first glance, with just 14 defensive snaps this season, but that number doesn't reflect his overall impact or growth. Mondon has become a core special teams contributor, recording 10 tackles in coverage, and he has embraced the steep learning curve that comes with transitioning from college football to the NFL. Drafted in the 5th round out of Georgia, Mondon has spoken openly about how weaknesses that might have been hidden in college are quickly exposed at this level. The speed, precision, and margin for error are completely different, and that challenge has forced him to elevate every part of his preparation. If the Eagles choose to rest their starting linebackers, Mondon could be in line for meaningful defensive snaps against Washington. For him, this is not just another game, but a chance to show how far he has come. He credits film study, coaching, and the competitive environment of the locker room for boosting his confidence. More than anything, he understands how rare these opportunities are. His mindset is simple: play fast, play the game he loves, and take full advantage of every snap he's given. Then there's Darius Cooper, whose journey to this point might be one of the most remarkable on the roster. Less than a year ago, he was making the jump from Tarleton State to the NFL, a leap that few players ever experienced so quickly. Cooper impressed during the summer, earned a spot on the 53-man roster, and has continued to build trust throughout the season. In 158 offensive snaps, He has recorded 6 receptions for 59 yards, contributed as a blocker, and played a role on special teams. Against Washington, he is expected to see a larger share of the action, and he is embracing that moment with enthusiasm and gratitude. Cooper has explained that the biggest adjustment at the NFL level was mastering the playbook and understanding the exact details required on every snap. Once that clicked, the game began to slow down for him. Learning from veterans and coaches, including Aaron Moorhead, A.J. Brown, and DeVonta Smith, has reinforced how precise and detail-oriented this league demands you to be. That growth has allowed Cooper to play more relaxed and simply focus on doing his job, one play at a time. All of this unfolds against the backdrop of a team that knows it is headed to the postseason but is still shaping what version of itself will show up there. Sirianni has acknowledged that there will be debate no matter what decision is made, whether to rest players or push for seeding. He has also made it clear that the coaching staff is still going through its process, weighing every scenario, and ultimately doing what it believes puts the Eagles in the best position moving forward. History suggests that rest and preparation have paid dividends for this organization before, but every season presents its own unique challenges. So as you watch this Week 18 game, it's not just about the final score. It's about evaluating depth, development, and decision-making. It's about seeing how players like McKee, Mondon, and Cooper respond when the spotlight finds them. And it's about asking whether this calculated approach truly sets the Eagles up for a deeper playoff run. What do you think about the Eagles' strategy in Week 18 and the opportunities being given to these players? What makes this situation even more layered is how the Eagles are trying to manage momentum without overexposing the core of the roster. This is not a team drifting into the playoffs unsure of its identity. Philadelphia has already locked its ticket, and the internal focus now shifts toward sharpening the edges of the roster while protecting what truly matters. Week 18 becomes less about proving dominance and more about fine-tuning the machine. Every snap taken by a backup, every rotation player on the field, is part of a bigger evaluation that goes beyond this single Sunday. Nick Sirianni has been transparent about how complex this decision-making process really is. He has lived both scenarios with this franchise, choosing to rest players in some seasons and pushing for seeding in others. The key difference now is context. The Eagles cannot fall below the number 3 seed, so the floor is already established. The ceiling, the number 2 seed, depends on factors outside their control. That reality forces the coaching staff to ask a hard question. Is it better to chase a result you cannot fully control, or to invest in rest, health, and preparation that you know will matter once the playoffs begin? Sirianni has stressed that buys, even unofficial ones created through rest, can have a significant impact, especially after the grind of a full NFL season. This is where the depth of the roster becomes a central theme. Tanner McKee stepping in at quarterback is not a random experiment. The Eagles have seen him daily, watched him grow in practice, and measured his command of the offense with the second unit. His familiarity with the players around him is not accidental. It is the product of deliberate reps throughout the season. This start is an extension of that developmental plan. The organization is not asking him to be someone he is not. They are asking him to execute, manage the offense, and show that the preparation behind closed doors translates when the lights are on. The same philosophy applies on defense. Smael Mondon's limited defensive snaps do not reflect his value to the team. Special teams are often where young players either earn trust or fade into the background, and Mondon has done the opposite. His speed, effort, and production and coverage have kept him active every week, while the classroom and practice field have shaped the rest of his game. If he gets extended defensive action against Washington, it will be a test of how well those lessons have taken hold. The Eagles are not looking for perfection. They are looking for growth, discipline, and proof that he can handle NFL speed when the opportunity comes. Darius Cooper's potential expanded role follows the same script. His rise from Tarleton State to meaningful NFL snaps in less than a year is already a success story, but the Eagles are clearly interested in seeing how he responds to a larger workload. His understanding of the playbook, his willingness to block, and his contributions on special teams have earned him trust. Now the question becomes how he handles being more involved in the offensive flow. This is not about flashy numbers. It is about reliability, precision, and showing that the game has truly slowed down for him, just as he has described. All of this ties back to the larger playoff picture. Being the number 2 seed would guarantee a home game in the divisional round if the Eagles advance, a significant advantage in January football. At the same time, history shows that this franchise values entering the postseason healthy and mentally fresh. In the last 2 Super Bowl seasons, resting starters in the finale did not hurt them. If anything, it helped reset the team for the challenges ahead. That memory is impossible to ignore when evaluating what Philadelphia is doing now. Week 18, then, becomes a measuring stick rather than a statement game. It is a chance to see how the next layer of the roster responds under real pressure. It is an audition for players who may be asked to contribute later, whether due to injury, rotation, or game plan. And it is a calculated pause for the stars, a recognition that the real battles are still to come. As fans, it is natural to want maximum intensity every week, to push for the highest seed possible no matter the cost. But there is also a broader vision at play, one shaped by recent success and hard-earned lessons. The Eagles are not just thinking about beating Washington. They are thinking about surviving January and positioning themselves to make another deep run. What also deserves attention is how this game quietly reflects the internal confidence the Eagles have in their process. Teams that panic about momentum tend to overplay their hand late in the season. Philadelphia is doing the opposite. There is a calm to these decisions, a belief that preparation over the long haul matters more than squeezing every possible drop out of one regular season afternoon. That mindset doesn't come from theory, it comes from experience. This locker room has lived through January runs, has felt the physical toll of a full season, and understands how thin the line is between being sharp and being worn down when the playoffs arrive. When you look at Tanner McKee in this context, his start is not about replacing anyone or creating controversy. It's about validation of development. Quarterbacks don't grow only on Sundays. They grow in film rooms, in walkthroughs, in correcting footwork during practice periods most fans never see. McKee has spent the season absorbing the offense, learning protections, understanding situational football, and now he gets a chance to show command. The Eagles don't need hero ball from him. They need decisiveness, ball security, and rhythm. If he delivers that, it reinforces the idea that this roster is not top-heavy, but layered. The same layered thinking applies to the defense. Giving Smail Mondon meaningful snaps is as much about information as it is about opportunity. Coaches learn different things in games than they do in practice. How does a player communicate when the pace speeds up? How does he react after a mistake? How quickly does he process formations and motion? These answers matter in the postseason, when depth can suddenly become critical. If Mondon shows he can translate his special teams speed and effort into defensive discipline, that adds another trusted option to the rotation when games truly tighten. And then there is Darius Cooper, whose story underscores how the Eagles value adaptability. His willingness to contribute without complaining about role or targets has stood out. Blocking, special teams work, and precise route running are often overlooked by casual observers, but not by coaches. If Cooper steps into a larger role and maintains that same attention to detail, it sends a message that this offense can lean on more than just its headline names when needed. In playoff football, that flexibility can be the difference between stalling drives and sustaining them. Zooming out, Week 18 becomes a snapshot of organizational philosophy. Philadelphia is not chasing optics. They are chasing readiness. The possibility of the number 2 seed is real, but it is not being pursued recklessly. The Eagles understand that their season will ultimately be judged by what happens in January, not by how aggressive they looked in the final week of December. That doesn't mean the game against Washington lacks purpose. It means the purpose is different. It is about clarity, confirmation, and confidence in the full roster. For fans, this can be a challenging watch emotionally. There is always a desire to dominate, to make a statement, to leave no doubt. But sometimes the strongest statement is restraint, trusting that the work already done will carry over when it matters most. The Eagles are betting that rest, evaluation, and controlled exposure now will pay off later, when the margin for error disappears. This is the kind of week that may not fully reveal its value until weeks from now. A completed pass, a clean tackle, a well-executed block by a young player in Week 18 could quietly echo in a playoff moment when depth is tested. That is the lens through which this game should be viewed, not as an ending, but as a bridge to what comes next. Another angle that cannot be ignored is how games like this quietly shape trust between coaches and players. Trust is built when preparation meets opportunity, and Week 18 is often where that equation becomes very clear. For players like McKee, Mondon, and Cooper, this is not just about putting good tape on film. It's about showing the coaching staff that when circumstances change, the standard does not drop. The Eagles are watching how these players handle in-game adjustments, how they respond to adversity, and how they communicate on the field. Those details often determine who is active, who is elevated in the rotation, and who is leaned on when playoff games turn chaotic. There's also a psychological layer to resting starters that fans sometimes overlook. For veterans, a week of reduced physical stress can be the difference between feeling fresh and feeling drained in the wild card or divisional round. Bodies accumulate hits over a season, and even minor injuries can linger. The Eagles are signaling that they trust their leaders to stay mentally locked in without needing every rep on the field. That trust flows both ways. Veterans understand that this decision is not about fear or caution, but about maximizing the group's chances when everything is on the line. At the same time, the competitive edge does not disappear. Players fighting for roles, snaps, or future opportunities bring their own urgency. That creates a unique environment where intensity still exists, just channeled differently. The coaching staff gets to evaluate players under real NFL conditions, not controlled practice scenarios. How clean is the operation? Are assignments executed correctly? Does the effort remain consistent deep into the game? These questions matter just as much as the final score. From a broader roster-building perspective, performances in games like this can echo into the offseason. Depth players who prove reliable late in the year often earn more responsibility, while others reveal areas that still need development. The Eagles are known for valuing competition at every position, and Week 18 feeds directly into that philosophy. It's another data point in a long evaluation process that doesn't stop once the playoffs begin. For the fan base, this can feel like a strange mix of anticipation and restraint. There's excitement in seeing new faces and curiosity in how the chessboard is being set for January. There's also the underlying tension of knowing that every decision will be judged in hindsight. If the Eagles make a deep run, this approach will be praised as disciplined and smart. If they stumble, it will be second-guessed endlessly. That is the reality of being a contender. What remains consistent is the belief that this team is thinking several steps ahead. They are not reacting to noise. They are acting based on experience, health, and a clear understanding of what wins in the postseason. Week 18 is simply one more chapter in that story, not the climax. There is also a subtle message being sent inside the building with how this week is being handled. Competition never stops, even when playoff spots are secured. By opening the door for extended reps, the coaching staff reinforces that preparation is rewarded. That matters not just for this season, but for the culture of the team. Younger players see that staying ready is not just a slogan, it is a requirement. Veterans see that their workload is being managed with purpose, not randomness. That alignment is difficult to achieve, and it speaks to a locker room that understands why these decisions are being made. From a tactical standpoint, this game also allows the Eagles to explore flexibility without revealing anything critical. The offense can operate within its structure, the defense can focus on fundamentals, and the staff